A funny thing happened today. There was a cricket chirping outside, and I thought it sounded kind of like a waltz. So I started counting in time to the cricket, and it seemed like 4/4 time to me. But then I wondered if I was just fooling myself. So I tried counting 3/4, and then the cricket stopped chirping. Eventually, it got its rhythm back, and I tried counting 3/4 again. This time, it had no effect on the cricket. And it occurred to me, I don't know how crickets chirp. This is a thing I could look up, but instead I let my mind run for a while. I thought about the way they chirp is several chirps at once, like a rolled R, or one of those frog things that one runs a mallet over to make a croaking noise. And I wondered if anyone could roll an R through a whistle, and if that would sound like a cricket chirp. At that point, I probably could have looked up someone attempting. Hey YouTube, look at you go. It's K. Willems again. I didn't look up someone chirping like a cricket, but I can still hear them in my backyard. We didn't always have them. There was a night where I went out back and heard crickets to the north and south, but not in our yard. This was mid-wasp war, and I knew that the grasshoppers were not fond of the wasps, but could they be chasing away crickets? I don't have a definitive answer. What I do know is I've killed dozens if not hundreds of wasps in the past week or so, and now there's crickets in my yard. I don't know how they chirp. I couldn't imitate them. I don't know what their relationship is with wasps, but I can hear them out there. So far, I've only seen one. They kind of look like cockroaches or la cucaracha for my South Americans. If I didn't see the little fool hop around, I would think it's a cockroach instead of a grasshopper. So that's another thing I don't know about crickets. I don't know if they're closer to grasshoppers or cucarachas. I'm pretty sure I could tell all three apart. If I saw a cricket, a cockroach, and a grasshopper, I would pick the grasshopper first. They aren't as scary as movies make them out to be. I don't know how grasshoppers became so villainized. They were the antagonists in Bug's life. And the protagonist was ants, and I have never met anyone happy to see ants, so that's ridiculous. I am happy to see grasshoppers all the time. And here's the thing about grasshoppers. They climb. I've seen them climb walls, windows, fences, screens. It's awesome. I walk out to the back to hear the cricket, and I saw a grasshopper on another one's back, climbing the fence. Truly magical evening. And that's every evening with these things. We have these tall oat plants out in the back, and the grasshoppers climb so high at night and just to munch, which is really neat to me because I too munch oats. But I don't scale several times my body height to make breakfast. I do drive for 30 or 40 minutes round trip, which might seem a little ridiculous to a grasshopper, but it gives me time to listen to some tunes and smoke a bit to start the day. Grasshoppers might have favorite tunes, but they'd have to get crickets to play them. Maybe that's why they're at war with the wasps. I, too, have chosen crickets over paper nests. The nests are beautiful, but it's what they represent that really evokes a feeling of dread in me. Some people have that with any set of holes, even an image. Meanwhile, the wasps nested by a 1x4 that rests on the side of my shed. So either I have to scrape out the wasps' nests or pull the board and screw it back in. I thought about running putty or something in the crack, but if you're going to do something, do it right. So far I haven't. I just keep squirting poison in the crack. So an image of holes doesn't really bug me, pun intended, but that wasp nest just sits in the corner of the shed, mocking me, always there when I open either side of the airlock that is my backyard. If we had a fig tree, they could fertilize the figs, but we don't. I don't like seeing them, is my point, and I don't know if I'm allowed to pull that board, or if we have a drill. I could do it. It's a simple task, but I don't own this house, nor am I on the lease, so I don't deal with the landlord, nor do I renovate his properties. Just cover it with poison. Poison which I hope the grasshoppers don't touch. However, I would like a world where grasshoppers could request poison to crickets and have them play any of those songs. If I opened Spotify and asked it to play Poison, I don't know if it would play Poison by Belle Biv DeVoe or Every Rose Has Its Thorn by Poison. Fish in French is poisson, which is close to poison, but I doubt Spotify would play a song about fish. This is the first thing I felt the need to actually test. I opened up Spotify and couldn't find the microphone thing. This seemed as good of a time as any to see if getting in my car helped, but I'm pretty sure I have car mode permanently off, so I don't know what difference that would make. Turns out it's a settings thing that you have to turn on now. Well, there goes my motivation to try that. The thing is, I don't know any songs involving the word poisson. I just think the French might have noticed higher mercury content in their fish than other regions. Mediterranean to the south, English Channel to the north. I don't know whether crickets are closer to grasshoppers or cockroaches. I've seen all three. I've been to the Mediterranean. I've been to Normandy. I don't know which poisson contain more poison. Furthermore, I don't know why this gives me the solace that it does, but if I approached a cricket and said, "Hey cricket, play poisson," it wouldn't change its behavior much. I wouldn't want it to. Some people aren't here right now and can't stop this wonderful feeling we're all taking part in. Crickets don't poisson. I don't even know poisson. Could any person possibly play poisson to a cricket and teach their little legs to follow along? Wouldn't be able to tell you. But the beauty of something like this is never before would the word poisson conjure the thought of crickets chirping. But now, calling a modern orchestral piece poisson about grasshoppers and wasps warring while the lowly crickets chirp away for those that seek to save them from stings, well, that's awesome. And it makes total sense to anyone who's seen this. Which is weird, because now your audience has me as required background knowledge. But if you do that, I do have some more fun stories about grasshoppers. For one, they have trouble landing on concrete, which is hysterical. The young ones especially. When I walk up to the front door or to my car, they jump out of the way and skip across the pavement instead of landing gracefully. More often than not, they stay on their feet, but that's what's funny about the young ones. Sometimes they try and jump off the skip, but the timing is wrong, so they flop over. I'm not the kind of guy who's gonna go running up and down the driveway just to see the grasshoppers flail in a harsh environment. However, it's nice to see something a little bit as hopeless as I am. People call this feeling schadenfreude, laughing at someone else's misfortune. I had this once in an auto shop where I was watching people take apart a Jeep and put it back together while they were actively in a parade. Sure enough, they did it, and I remarked that it'd be funny to see it fall apart. The man sitting next to me said, "But isn't it cooler that it doesn't?" Maybe. When the grasshoppers aren't skipping across the pavement or munching on oats, they are quite beautiful, and unlike other insects, better in the swarm. A singular grasshopper can be quite a sight. When they climb on the window, I can look at even the squishy parts between the exoskeleton. Crazy that they still have squishy bits outside, and we have squishy bits in our bones. I even saw one poop one time. Grasshopper, not a bone. It reminded me how much of dirt is poop. Leaves biodegrade, sure, but worms keep making quick work of my compost pile, and it's looking more like dirt every day. And the grasshoppers are doing that too. And ants, and wasps, and crickets, and cockroaches, and earwigs. But I found the plant that the earwigs love, so that's the one I get rid of. I hope the rest of the bugs like the ones I let grow. I want to tell you about a spider I saw climb a sunflower, but I gotta finish the grasshopper thing. So they swarm, and they jump together, but then all of a sudden there's too many to jump at once, so during the day I can walk outside and like a flock of birds they take off, but they can't fly, so they have to take 3 or 4 jumps away, and they all do it at once in waves, and all the grass is stamped down, so there's these cascades of grasshoppers just taking off all throughout the yard because they startle each other, like ripples through a pond. I've only seen it 5 or 6 times because it feels rude to frighten them. They are so skittish during the day, much calmer at night. Hanson and Hanson for President 2024.